Afternoon, Suzuki Sharks. Welcome back to a brand new school year. We're excited to have our presentation from our Caring and Safe Schools organization here at the board. And we want to remind you that this video that you're about to see has very important information for you. We really want to make sure that you're being attentive and that you're paying close attention to all that you're seeing and hearing from us.
We affirm that we are all treated people and acknowledge that the York Region District School Board is located on the lands of these two treaties. These treaties have been signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the First Nations of the William Treaties, who are the Mississauga of Outerville, Curve Lake, Hyethawa, Scugog Island, and the Chippewas of Beau Soleil, Rama and Georgina Island, who is our closest neighbor and our partner in education. To honor this agreement, we will take up our responsibility to be respectful of their traditions, knowledge, and inherent rights as sovereign nations. We respect their relationship with these lands and recognize that our connection to this land is through the continued relationship with these First Nations. And we acknowledge our shared responsibility to respect and care for the land and water of future generations.
All students have the right to learn in an environment where they feel safe, welcome, and respected.
Everyone has a role in creating an inclusive and accepting school environment.
A caring and safe school environment is based on the development of healthy, positive, and respectful relationships.
We must follow classroom and school expectations for everyone to feel safe, accepted, and included in our classroom and school community. In our classrooms, examples of appropriate behaviors include using kind, supportive, and inclusive language, showing respect through our actions and words, only using technology with the permission of our teachers and only for educational purposes, working collaboratively with others and solving problems safely and restoratively, waiting for our turn to speak and using our indoor voices, using classroom items and tools in a safe way and in which they are meant to be used, sharing classroom items with others, taking care of our belongings and other people's belongings, tidying up after ourselves, and building and maintaining positive relationships with our peers and teachers. In the hallway and in other areas of the school, we continue to use kind, supportive, and inclusive language. We walk through the hallways and throughout the school quietly, following school expectations. We talk using our indoor voices. When we're outside at recess, we are using kind, supportive, and inclusive language, playing safely with others, asking others to join us when we are playing. When there's an indoor recess, find a quiet activity to engage in and follow classroom expectations. On the school bus, we are sitting in our seats. We listen to the instructions of the bus drivers, following school expectations for appropriate and acceptable use of personal technology. We use our indoor voices when we are talking. We use appropriate, kind, and inclusive language when talking to others. We get off and on the bus in a line and in a safe manner, and we follow bus safety expectations at all times.
So students, you were just given some very specific reminders and we want to talk a little bit more with you about them. That video you just saw spoke to remembering that we are following behaviors and expectations set out here at school and a code of conduct, not only for yourselves, but for all of the peers around you. Your friends all need to be working and learning in a safe, inclusive environment. You need to be thinking about the words you use inside the school and outside the school, and thinking about what are some things you can do to ensure that everyone around you is continuing to be safe and healthy.
We know that there are a lot of rules that you have to follow at home, rules that you follow for your sports teams or when you go to different clubs, and your classroom teacher has their own set of rules. But we have rules across the school that ensure that everyone that steps foot into the building at David Suzuki or outside in the yard feels safe and feels welcome.
Hello YDSP students. As students, we must work hard to make our classrooms welcoming, safe, and inclusive. We want to ensure that all our schools are free from hate and discrimination.
Discrimination is when someone is treated unfairly because of their age, social class, skin color, ability, ethnicity, familial status, gender identity, language, religion, sex, or sexual orientation. Some examples of discrimination include anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, anti-Asian racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, ableism, classism, and transphobia.
Racism is when a group of people are treated worse than others because of their race, skin color, culture, or where they come from.
It is not okay to make jokes, to make comments, or to use slurs about someone's identity. This includes writing or drawing hateful symbols or words, excluding someone based on their identity, or sending or posting hateful images and or videos. Our schools will respond seriously to any hate-based or discriminatory incidents, which can include suspensions, expulsions, and York Regional Police involvement.
At Wire DSP, we work hard to create a safe and inclusive space for all our staff and students. Therefore, we do not tolerate any form of discrimination or racism. Everyone should feel safe and a strong sense of belonging. This is your school.
One form of racism is anti-Black racism. Anti-Black racism is prejudice, attitudes, beliefs, stereotyping, and discrimination directed at people of African descent and rooted in the unique history and experience of enslavement. Anti-Black racism is when you hate, exclude, or treat a person badly because they identify as Black.
And it happens all the time. For example, a joke or a comment, whether it's said out loud, written, or posted online.
It can be something that can hurt a lot, like excluding someone from a game at recess, from lunch, or any other social activity, or making a mean joke or comment about their skin color because the person identifies as Black. Unfortunately, these are only a few examples of anti-Black racism, as there are many more.
It is never okay for us to use any anti-Black slurs or put-downs towards anyone, anytime or anywhere, not even as a joke or repeating a line from a song you listen to. Using anti-Black slurs or put-downs at school or in your favorite online chat room is not okay. Using Black people as part of your avatar, memes, or GIFs is also never okay. So if you see someone being treated badly, made fun of, excluded from playing, or looked down on because they are Black, or if you have experienced anti-Black racism, speak to a trusted adult at school or home, your principal, vice principal, or use the report it tool found on our Wire DSP website. And be an upstander and speak out against all acts of anti-Black racism in our schools. Anti-Black racism needs to stop. Any form of anti-Black racism will not be tolerated in our schools. Let us all work together to create a positive, inclusive, and welcoming space for our classmates, staff members, families, and community members.
Dealing with incidents of hate or racism is difficult. It's hard for students, it's hard for the adults, but we need everyone to work together so that we can address situations when they happen in the moment to make sure that people don't feel discriminated against and don't feel harmed by the words that we use or the actions that we take. The adults in the building are here to help, and we need you to report when situations happen. It does not make you a snitch. It actually helps us to get to the bottom of problems so that people aren't harmed by what is taking place at school or what's being said online.
when someone repeatedly hurts or harms another person, either physically or emotionally. This can take many forms, including physical violence, name-calling, spreading rumors, exclusion, and cyberbullying. It can happen in person or online. Bullying can also be based on someone's social identity, including their gender, race, religion, sexuality, and physical appearance.
Some examples of bullying include photographing you without your consent and posting it. It can be sharing images across social media that depict you in a negative light. It can also be cruel comments that are made as you walk down the hallway about your appearance. Sometimes it can look like mimicking based on your disability or accent. It can include cyberbullying, where people will create anonymous social media accounts to say horrible things about you and leave really mean comments.
Unfortunately, it can also come from someone you may have trusted. You may have shared something personal with them, and they use that information and weaponize it against you. Bullying can also take the form of transphobia or transphobic comments.
So firstly, bullying can make you feel bad about yourself, which can lead to low self-esteem. Being bullied can also make you feel sad, anxious, and stressed out.
It's not just the victim who suffers. The bully can also have long-lasting effects from their actions. And on the other side of the coin, bullies can develop aggressive behavior and have trouble forming healthy relationships in the future. Bullying is a serious issue that affects many teenagers. It's important to know what it is and how it can affect your life so that you can protect yourself and others. Remember, if you or someone you know is being bullied, don't be afraid to talk to someone you trust and seek help.
So as you can see here, we have a new YRDSB expectation for our personal mobile devices. All mobile devices, including smartwatches, as you see here, must be powered off or set to silent mode during the lunchtime, during the school day, including recess and lunch. If you leave to go home at lunchtime and you need to take your device with you, by all means, please do so. But we are not going to have any cell phone devices being used here at school. And I think I just want to talk a little bit around the video we saw just a minute ago and remind you that part of why we are here at this point now with no devices in school is because of students who've been unable to self-regulate and have engaged in cyberbullying. As you saw and you listened, here at David Suzuki, we will not be tolerating any form of bullying. So please, the students, make sure that you are adhering to all of these policies moving forward. If you have any questions, please speak with Ms. Scavuzzo, Mrs. Bihari, or your classroom teacher around this. But there are no cell phones allowed at school to be used. They must be set to silent mode, as you see here.
Picture this. At recess time, you and your friends are playing basketball. You and your friend begin arguing about who fouled who. You can't agree about the foul, and you're both getting upset. Uh-oh, this is a conflict. A conflict is a serious disagreement that can happen when you just don't agree with someone else. Conflict is a normal part of life. Everyone gets into conflict at some point. Sometimes these conflicts can get heated and snowball into something much bigger. When someone disagrees with us, it can leave us feeling frustrated and mad. You may blame them, say hurtful words, or raise your voice. Sometimes it can lead to hitting, punching, or kicking. This is never okay. You can seriously hurt someone, and you can face serious consequences. The situation gets worse before you know it. We don't like this, so don't go there. So stop before you react. Think about the situation and recognize your emotions. Try not to get caught up and overreact. And did I say stop? Yes, stop. Watch your words, hands, and feet. When upset, we sometimes say terrible things or do awful things. Remember, you can't take it back once you've said something. It is not okay to put others down. We don't use mean comments or blame others for what's happening. We don't hit, kick, or punch others. So just stop. Take a minute to calm down. Breathe. Take deep, slow breaths. Let your lungs fill up. Then breathe all the air out again. Your body will start to feel calmer. You might need more than deep breaths to feel calm. If that doesn't work, walk away from conflict. You can go talk to a friend or tell a trusted adult. It is also not okay to get involved in someone else's conflict, even if they are your friend. Get an adult to help. Listen up. Listen up. This is a big one and often the hardest to do when we are upset. It is hard for us to hear what someone is saying. If we can listen to why the other person feels the way they do and put ourselves in their shoes, it is much easier to find a solution. You can even ask them what's bothering them. We can work it out, let them talk, don't interrupt, and let them know you understand how they feel. This is where we can work together and find a solution that solves our problem. So remember, the next time you get into a conflict, just stop, watch your words, hands, and feet, take a minute to calm down, and listen up.
I think what's important about this video is the very first part of stopping. So when there's a conflict, when there's a situation that's happening, people are getting heated or upset, just stop. Having that little moment of time where you can just think things through, pause a little bit so that people can calm down is really important. And when you stop, that gives you the chance to keep your hands to yourself, keep your feet to yourself, and then come up with a way that you can solve the situation. For some people, deep breathing might work. For other people, you may need to go touch some grass. You want to go and hug a tree. You might want to go and talk to your friend. Whatever works for you in that moment to help calm your nerves, we would like to see you putting into place when there is a conflict. And if you find that you're not able to solve that conflict yourself using whatever strategy you think will work for you, find an adult to help. The lunch assistants, the staff that work here, the people in the office, we are all here to make David Suzuki a safe and inclusive place for everyone, and we want to help you work through situations when you can't navigate them yourselves.
What is consent? What does it mean? Consenting to something means you agree to let it happen. To let someone borrow a pen, to lend out your bike, to let someone take your picture, or give you a hug. Consent is important. How would you feel if someone looked at your phone, read your messages, took pictures of you, or grabbed hold of your hand without asking? Like a circle drawn around us, we all have personal space of our bodies, our minds, and things. If you step into that space without asking, you could hurt feelings. You could break trust. You could make things feel all wrong. There's only one rule to consent, really. Making sure you have it. If someone looks uncertain or nervous, if you're unsure, if something's unclear, just ask. Can I wear your hat? Can I borrow your phone? Is it okay if I hold your hand? And if you don't get consent, then that thing shouldn't happen. Whatever it is. Nobody has to give you a reason. And if their words say yes, but they still look unsure, then really stop and think. Are they okay with this or just playing along? It's okay to double check. And if someone says yes once, that doesn't mean that they'll always say yes or they can't change their mind. Consent is about connecting, understanding each other, getting it right. It's not just about getting the answer you want, but listening to the one you get.
Really, really important message in there. You have to listen to what someone says. You need to ask first before you borrow something, take something from someone else. And the same goes for when we're talking about someone else's body, personal space. This brings us to our next slide here, where it also works through unwanted behaviors. Uninvited sexual comments or actions can be considered sexual harassment. Touching of other people in places that they don't feel comfortable with, demanding hugs, making sexual or racist comments and spreading rumors, sharing inappropriate pictures or asking for pictures to be sent, mocking someone's appearance or behaviors. Those are all unwanted activities from you, and people need to feel safe here at school. All of our students, when they come to David Suzuki, need to know that they are going to be safe. So you have to make sure that you keep your hands to yourself. It might feel like it's a joke to you. You might think it's funny, but it really isn't if that person says no and is not enjoying the situation they're in. Here at YRDSB, we also have a spectator code of conduct, which means that if you are out on the field, if you're at a game, you have to make sure that you're courteous, you're positive. Privacy rules still apply. If you're out as a member of a team, we have amazing athletes here at school. If you go to another school, you need to make sure that you're respecting everyone's privacy there, including the playing spaces and the chain spaces. Officials who are at any game need to have the same respect given as you would to your teachers here at school or your parents or anywhere else. All our property needs to be respected, whether you're here again or at an away game. You need to make sure that you treat it with the same level of respect that you would at all times. We know that when you go out there, you're representing us, and we are hoping that we're sending the very best people out as David Suzuki Sharks. We want you to be supportive of your team members and also the opponents, whether you win or lose. Your experiences are that. They're about the experience. It's not about you being boastful and thinking that because you win, the other team is less than you, or vice versa. We're here to have fun and enjoy the experience, and that can only be done if you adhere to this spectator code of conduct.
So just a few reminders about actions that are acceptable and things that are unacceptable. So being inclusive and accepting is the environment that we want to have in our school, outside of our school, and when any students are going on trips or when you're playing on sports teams, making sure everybody feels as though they're part of it is very important. Being kind, caring, and compassionate. That means to treat others the way that you want to be treated. That means being kind to yourself, and it means being kind to others. Being collaborative. Sometimes in class you may have to work in a group. You may not always get to work with all of your friends or your besties. That's okay. You can still work together to complete an assignment or to work on a project and get along throughout the process of completing the work together, collaborating. Also, remembering to respect the personal boundaries of yourself or others. We just heard about consent. Making sure you ask someone's permission before you touch them. Asking their permission before you borrow something. Asking somebody's permission before you're in their space and in their face is very important. We want to remind everybody that bullying, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's with your bodies, or whether it's online, is unacceptable and it will not be tolerated. Talking about people behind their backs, spreading hate or spreading rumors, unacceptable. Sharing inappropriate images and recording others. If you do not have permission to take someone's picture or you do not have permission to take a video of someone, you are not to do it. And touching others. Your hands need to stay to themselves. Your feet need to stay to themselves and not get into other people's space or onto their bodies.
So as you saw in that last video, vaping is really dangerous. It's not allowed in any of our schools. And this information is more applicable to our older students. We know that our younger students are definitely not going to be exposed to this. We're hoping that our older students are going to continue to be leaders and examples for our younger students. If you are caught vaping on school property, that is really a serious issue. Your parents and your guardians can be notified, and there will be progressive discipline applied to you as a student. So please, all students, please be aware of this and make sure that you adhere to this policy at all times.
And if you think that vaping is better than cigarettes, you need to think that through. There are as many toxins and addictive products in vapes that are just as bad, if not worse, than cigarettes. what can happen is you fool yourself into thinking that maybe it tastes good or it has a wonderful smell or something like that and think that it's not harming you. That is incorrect. There are lots of dangers associated with vaping. Don't do it.
Really, really important, students. You need to be aware of these things. I know you all are looking at this picture and you can tell what those items are here. We are not allowed to bring any peanut products here to school. We have many staff and students who are allergic to things like peanut butter, and this can be a life-threatening event for them. So please, this includes things such as Nutella. Please make sure that your families at home are all aware of that. No nut products here allowed at school.
There are also other items in here that you may recognize, or maybe you're not sure what that second item is. So a Swiss Army knife or any kind of a product that has smaller items that will pop out of it, unacceptable. There are sharp items that are in there that could be a danger to you or to someone else. So if you have an item like that, it needs to stay at home and should not be coming to school.
Again, you can see another knife in the picture. Please let your parents know you do not need any knives brought to school to support you during lunch. Please keep those items at home. Next to that, you can see things that look like different types of bottles and glasses. No alcohol at all is allowed here on school property at any time.
You see that there's also a water gun there, and you're probably thinking to yourself, but a water gun is not a real gun. Well, unfortunately, even the sight of a gun can cause harm to someone. People have experienced trauma with guns and may have very negative reactions to seeing that type of item at school. It could be perceived as being a weapon and is not allowed to come to school. So if you have anything like this that is for use outside of school, please do not bring it to school.
And the last two are really important. In the middle, it's something called cannabis. Again, it's a drug. No drugs are allowed on school at any time. Students caught with drugs will have very serious consequences as a result of that. And beside that, those are known as e-cigarettes or vaping products. So as we were told just earlier, those are also not allowed on school property. Please make sure that you know at all times what's in your backpack because you're responsible for it.
In our school board, we are all learning and growing together. This means that sometimes we make mistakes as we grow. Everyone should be allowed to learn from their mistakes by reflecting and understanding the impact of their actions.
If a student makes a mistake that negatively affects others or the school community, we provide support to help them learn from their mistakes. This includes having discussions with the student's family, reviewing expectations, having restorative conversations or circles, learning opportunities, counseling, encouraging reflection, and providing opportunities for the student to fix their mistake. But in some cases, consequences may include loss of privileges, detention, suspension, or expulsion.
Suspension is considered for bullying, cyberbullying, or harassment of any kind, not following YRDSP or the school code of conduct, making threats, any act of racism or any other form of hate and discrimination, swearing at school staff, having or using alcohol or illegal drugs, vandalizing, and hurting someone physically or mentally. Mandatory suspensions or expulsions are considered for possessing or using a weapon or replica, or using a weapon to cause or threaten bodily harm to another person, committing a physical assault or sexual assault, trafficking weapons or illegal drugs, bullying or cyberbullying, any act of hate based on social identities, committing robbery, giving alcohol or any drugs to someone underage, and doing things that cause a lot of harm to other students, staff, and the school climate.
Please remember that suspensions or expulsions are considered for any inappropriate acts on York Region District School Board property, any online environment, on school buses, at school-authorized events or activities, in before and after school programs, including co-curricular activities and field trips. Suspensions and expulsions may be considered for incidents outside of school hours and events that impact our school climate and the school community's sense of safety and well-being. The progressive discipline approach aims to help students improve and learn from their choices. We are all here to support each other and make good choices. Let's all work together to create a caring, safe, and inclusive learning environment.
So students, as you saw there, it's really important to know that your behavior both in school and off school property counts at all times. You are all students of YRDSB, even when you're out at the mall or at the plaza with your friends, hanging out at the park. What you do outside of school property can also still impact you here, and you can also be suspended or expelled depending on the nature of the offenses that have taken place. So please, please, please think about what you're doing, what you're saying, how your body's behaving when you're in school and out of school. One of the things I wanted to point out there was that swearing at staff is also considered a reason for significant discipline. And I want you to know that that includes not just teaching staff, but all staff, including our lunch assistants who work very hard to support us during our lunchtime. So please remember this and be respectful of our staff at all times.
So how do you ask for help? This is a hard thing, not only for children, but also sometimes for adults. But there are times in everyone's life where you are going to need to work with someone to solve a problem. If you notice that something is happening around you, if it is safe to do so, we're asking you to talk to that person and ask them to stop. Whether it's something that they're doing physically or whether it's words that they are using, if you feel that you are able to safely ask them to stop, that is the first step. If that is not successful, there are many trusted adults at this school that you can talk to. Teachers, principal, the vice principal, you can talk to someone in the office, you can talk to the lunch assistants. You can also share things with your family and they can help you work through situations as well. The last item on the list is a button that is on the school website. It is called Report It. And if there is something in there that you need to let us know that it is a serious situation that you cannot navigate yourself, we encourage you to use that button and report it to us directly. That's the button that's there on our school website. You can see on the right-hand side, that's the David Suzuki landing page, and there's a purple Report It button that is there. And there's a form that you can fill out to report serious situations that we need to help you solve.
So students, remember that we are here to help you at all times. If you feel you need to talk to someone, we're here. Sometimes things get overwhelming for us as students. Whether you're frustrated with your work, you're frustrated or disappointed by an outcome of an assessment, something at home. If things are happening and you feel you need to talk to somebody, we are here. We are trusted adults, your teachers, we have amazing support staff, and both the principal and the vice principal are here to help you. And if that doesn't work for you and you need more, there are also additional strategies and tools out there. There's the kids help phone that we have access to. We will be sending out some information to your teachers a little bit later on so that they can display that on their Google Classrooms and you know that you can find support whenever you need it.
One thing we want you to understand is that the ability to create a caring and safe and inclusive school environment is not just for the grown-ups to do. It's not something that we do and you just follow. We need you to be part of the process. So if there's a new student in your class, helping them find the washroom helps that person feel included. If there's somebody who needs something translated and you're able to help them, you are making them feel welcome. So whatever students can do to help contribute to the environment, to making it safe and making it inclusive for everyone, is a task that we would like you to take on along with all of the adults in the building.
Before we leave you, we would just want to remind you about a couple of other safety tips that we have for you. You are all very much aware that David Suzuki Public School is named after an environmentalist. Mr. David Suzuki himself, I know, was really hesitant to have a school named after him because he wanted to make sure that we as students and staff continue to abide by the things that are important to him, and that's the environment. So we have to do our part here at Suzuki and remember that we're going to help in the small ways that we can. We're going to be respectful of the land we live on, the environment that we're in. Please make sure that we're doing so all food stays inside the building. We're not disposing of garbage outside, and we're trying our very best to keep our school, both inside and outside, looking clean, neat, and appropriate.
We also want to make sure that when people in the community go to use our soccer field or they're on the walking paths, that we haven't left a mess for them as well. This is a group effort to make sure that our environment stays clean and so that we have access to it. We don't want to be in a situation where we don't get to use the field or we can't go outside to play. So we need your help to please keep all food inside the building. Eat your snack in your class, make sure your lunch is finished in your class so that nothing is going outside.
So here again, you see that we're asking you to be sure that you have lineups for safe entry after recess and lunch. We've put some things in place to help that for you as students, for us all as staff. And we would really, really like it if that you can abide by that. Another note for safe reasons for lineups and keeping us safe is when we're getting on the bus. That was addressed in our videos earlier. We have a number of students who take the bus. Students, please do not line up on the curb. You have to line up carefully along the path that you are directed to in front of your bus signs when you're waiting for the buses to come. We want safe entry onto the bus for our kindergarten students first and then our other students after. And that only happens when we're displaying respectful, caring behaviors for each other.
And as we've said a few times, and as you've seen in the videos, we're looking to you to play safely and to use appropriate language. That doesn't just mean in your classroom. It means anywhere in the school building, anywhere outside, on the bus, on the field trip. And we hope that we can count on you to continue to make Suzuki an amazing school that feels welcoming to people and that includes people, where everybody feels safe.
On that note of safe play and appropriate language, we just want to remind you once more that there will be no tolerance for hate and discrimination here at school. We don't want to hear any racial slurs being used at all. And we want to remind you at all times that if you're sharing, posting inappropriate comments online in your group chats, outside of school property, you are still going to be affected by the result of that, whatever that might be. We are looking forward to a great, fantastic year here from all of our students and staff, and you're a big part of making that happen. We know we can count on you, Suzuki.
And we thank you for listening to this presentation, and we hope that you will remember the things that we have reviewed so that we can have an amazing school year. We're off to a great start.